When I decided to do this video, there were only a couple videos like this on YouTube. Most of them are on TikTok, but in like the past couple weeks, a few different videos about personal curriculums have been posted, so now I'm late. Personal curriculums have been trending for like a month and a half, I guess, on TikTok. I feel like it started around the start of the school year, which here is mid-August. I am a huge nerd when it comes to learning. I love to learn. Curiosity is one of the most important things a person could have. I've read 56 books so far this year, which is way more than I ever expected to be able to read, and 18 of them are nonfiction, which is about a third of them. As an author, you have to constantly be learning and improving, and part of that is research. A lot of that might depend on what kind of genre you write, but even writing my Billy books, the amount of times that I have gone down a rabbit hole about depression or pregnancy or abortion or mental health in general, math, because she started out as a math major, a lot of the times refreshing my memory on like art history and stuff like that, because she is in college, so she is very specifically learning these kinds of things, and I have to stay on top of that. I have to know what is going on. I know I do way more research than the average contemporary fiction writer does. A lot of that is just because I enjoy doing it so much. But as I move into other genres and want to work on those more, there are a bunch of things I need to research that I don't know enough about. All of these books back here are research books. I actually just reorganized them, so this section is stuff I've read. All of that is stuff I haven't read. And the same is true for the shelf up here that you can't see that well. There are like 5 or 6 books right here that I have read. The rest of those are all ones I need to read. So I did not have to like go to the library or buy new books for this. All of these, except one, are books that I already have. Do you want to come here? Yes. So this whole personal curriculum trend is mostly about people wanting to be curious and wanting to learn more about stuff they've always wanted to know, basically just teaching themselves stuff that they're really interested in. It is a little bit different when you're an author. This is all stuff I am very interested in, but it's also for a specific purpose. It's for writing a specific book or series. With that in mind, I wanted to put together what is specifically an author's personal curriculum. How this is different is that I will not really be having a bunch of assignments and quizzes. I'm not going to be writing essays. I might do a video essay on some of the stuff I have learned, but I'm not going to be grading myself in the same way that a lot of the people doing personal curriculums are. So this will be a little more laid back, partially because the purpose of this research is for writing a book, and partially because I simply do not have the time or capacity to go as in-depth as a lot of these people are. The other way that it is different is I'm doing this over a period of 2 months. Most people are either doing 1 month and doing a different curriculum each month, or they're doing it like a semester. I really felt that as I was planning this, it's a little late to do it as a semester, so I decided to do it over a period of 2 months. That's also a long enough time to get in a decent amount of research, but not too long that it feels like I'm dragging it out or I'm putting too much pressure on myself. I wanted a happy medium. So this is October and November. I've also figured that December I'll be pretty busy with like family stuff and holidays and whatnot. So this takes off some pressure by not doing it during December. Hey, pretty girl. Some people do like 1 or 2 classes. Some people have as many as 5 or 6, which frankly seems insane. That is way too many for me. So I picked 3 things. These subjects that I'm doing are not super specific. I have a lot of books on like general information, and that seemed like the correct starting point. So with that in mind, let's dive into it. For the 3 classes that I'm going to do, 2 of them focus on specific research for a specific book, and then the third is about writing in general. So the first class is fairy tales and folk tales. Again, this is very general. I have quite a few books on fairy tales and folk tales. Some of them get more specific. I have, for instance, a couple that are very specifically about Red Riding Hood. I've already read those. So this class will be more about like general information and history behind fairy tales. This is the only book that I have gotten to from the library. This is Fairy Tale Films Beyond Disney. This is edited by Jack Sipes, Pauline Greenhill, and Kendra Magnus-Johnston. Jack Sipes is basically the most well-known fairy tale historian that's currently alive. He works at the University of Minnesota, or at least he did in 2014 when this book came out. I have so many books by him, and I do not know this man. I have never met this man, but he's wonderful and I love him. Everything that I have ever read by him has been so thoughtful and intelligent. Sometimes you can just tell from the way that he words things, even though he is simply stating facts, like you can feel how much he doesn't like Disney. You can feel like, it's really good. Anyway, so this is specifically about fairy tale films that are not Disney films. How Disney took over the fairy tale market, basically, and transformed how we view fairy tales. The subsequent chapters are all about, like, different locations. So there's stuff about British fairy tales, France, Germany, Italy, Scandinavia, Russia, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Japan, China, India, Korea. There is unfortunately only one chapter on Africa. That's an awfully big place to just lump into one thing, but it will also be a good jumping off point for fairy tales from Africa. Australia, Canada, Latin America. I notice also that there aren't any like Native American fairy tales, so that is also something that would be really nice to be included. But this is already such a big and intense book that that's fine. Anyway, so this is the only one that I have from the library. So this takes priority. It is due on October 17th, so I have to finish it by then. The next fairy tale book is Fairy Tale as Myth, Myth as Fairy Tale by, what do you know, Jack Sipes. This is one that's specifically not him editing, it is him writing, which, like, if you look him up, God, he has so many books. About half of them are ones where he is editor or translator. There's this version of the Brothers Grimm fairy tales that he specifically translated. I really need to get a copy of that. I'll just read the back to give you guys a little peek of what this is about. Tales such as Beauty and the Beast, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and Rumpelstiltskin have become part of everyday culture, definers of who we are, shapers of our identities and our character. Jack Sipes begins this lively and provocative work by exploring the historical rise of the literary fairy tale as genre in the late 17th century. In his examinations of key classic fairy tales, Sipes traces their unique metamorphoses in history with stunning discoveries that reveal their ideological relationship to domination and oppression in Western society. The fairy tale received its most mythic formation and articulation in America. Consequently, Sipes shows how Walt Disney appropriated Snow White to express notions of American male individualism, and how L. Frank Baum's The Wizard of Oz has been interpreted in film and literature as a critique of American myths. Sipes also takes on Robert Bly's Iron John, a myth for the American men's movement, created out of Bly's misunderstanding of folklore and traditional fairy tales. Fairy tale as myth, myth as fairy tale will forever change the way we look at the seemingly innocent fairy tales of our youth. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. And the next book is one that I just got at the Friends of the Library book sale. This is a Norton Critical Edition, including a bunch of classic fairy tales and having like multiple versions of them. So you can see all the different versions of each of these stories. And then it also has a bunch of critical essays at the end. Asa gave me the idea of analyzing like the different Little Red Riding Hood stories because that's specifically applicable to my project. That's just such a fantastic idea, so I think making a video about that will probably be like my one main assignment for this class. And then I did also pull out this book, which was one specifically referenced by Jack Sipes in his Red Riding Hood story, because this is the version, the oldest version of Red Riding Hood to our knowledge. And this is the version that he specifically used. This is the, I don't know how to speak French, the Borzoi. I don't know how to pronounce this. It's Borzoi, Book of French Folk Tales. This has a version of the story of grandmother, and so does this, and I want to compare the two. I'm curious about the differences in translation. The one in here is about 2 pages, the one in here is about 3, but with the different text sizes, it could be basically the same. I'm not going to read this whole book unless I have time, then I might, but I do want to specifically compare that version of Red Riding Hood. So that's all my research specifically for my fairy tales and folk tales class. I will be using the Fairy Tale Films Beyond Disney book as a source of recommendations for movies that I can watch in conjunction, and any of those I will be renting through the library. I have already requested a couple because I have started that book. I'm like 4 chapters in, so there are a couple like Korean fairy tale movies that I've requested because they're like fairy tale horrors, which is exactly the kind of thing I want to write. I especially love like Japanese and Korean horror. They are so well done. They are excellent. So I really want to watch more of those. So my next class is generally about Victorian England. I have so many books on Victorian England, but I wanted to start with the more general ones. Most of the research that I have done on this so far has been like articles and videos and that type of stuff. So I really want to take a dive into the books that I already have. We're starting off with How to Be a Victorian, A Dawn to Dusk Guide to Victorian Life. This is by Ruth Goodman. This basically does a deep dive on the daily life of someone in the Victorian time period. I'm not sure if it will focus on like upper class or lower class or have a mixture, but based on the chapter titles, I assume that it leans a little more toward lower class, which is good. That is more the direction I would prefer, because so much of our knowledge and research about that time period is not about poor people, and that's most people. Yeah, this is one where I have not officially started it. I have my bookmark in here and ready to go. And the next book is Victorian Fashion Accessories. This is like specifically about how women's accessories were not just like incidental and random. Fashion accessories are not just a finishing touch to your outfit. There is so much more historical and social significance to it. So this talks about gloves, fans, parasols, and something else. I don't remember. But it's about how women wore them and used them, what materials they were made out of, how that revealed and influenced their class and stature in society. So like there are only 4 chapters, but it's like the glove and the making of the middle class womanhood, the language of the fan pushing the boundaries of middle class womanhood. So a lot of this is on like the middle class. Umbrellas as symbols of imperialism, race, youth, flirtation, and masculinity. The 4th thing is a vanity set. The celluloid vanity set and the search for authenticity. This is a very deep dive into how these things were a part of society, how they could show a woman's role in society. I don't know, I'm really excited about this one. And then this one, which I believe I got this one at the spring Friends of the Library book sale. This is The Invention of Murder, How the Victorians Reveled in Death and Detection and Created Modern Crime, by Judith Flanders. I have a couple books by her. She is like one of the foremost Victorian historians. I am so excited about this book because this is basically the perfect research for my Red Riding Hood book. I need to read her other books too. I have read part of her one on the Victorian city. I got it through the library and I ran out of time, and then I never went and re-got it. But I now now have a copy, so I need to read that too. A couple other things. These are coloring books. I am a huge Dover coloring book nerd. I get a bunch of these. So I've got this one on Victorian fashion. This goes basically from 1837 to 1870 something. 1877 is the last one. So you can see like the transformation. And then this one is specifically late Victorian and early Edwardian. So this one goes from about 1863 to 1910. So both of those combined give you a really good look at how fashion transformed during the Victorian time period. What I love about Dover coloring books is it's not just a page to cover. They give you historical information about the outfit, when it's from, and like what it's made of. And also, like, these dresses are gorgeous and insane. Look at that. And then this last one is about the Victorian house. And this isn't just about like different Victorian houses, because I have one of those too. It has different sections on the different parts of the house and tells you about each section. So it's got like the front porch, the front hallway, the parlor, the library, the dining room, the kitchen, the gazebo and flower garden, and the master bedroom, a daughter's bedroom, a son's bedroom, the bathroom, the water closet, the attic, the basement, the carriage house, and then about like renovation. These are more than just coloring books. They are legitimate references. If I'm, picking up on that information while enjoying some relaxing coloring, that's awesome. Those are my references for Victorian London. And then my third and final class is about storytelling and story structure. I am just starting The Anatomy of Story. I have been wanting to read this one for quite a while. 22 Steps to Becoming a Master Storyteller. So there's that one. The next one is Story Trumps Structure by Stephen James. How to Write Unforgettable Fiction by Breaking the Rules. This is a Writer's Digest book. I like those a lot. I have a bunch of them. And then the last one is Story by Robert McKee. Substance, Structure, Style, and the Principles of Screenwriting. So 2 of these are more about screenwriting than fiction writing, though I think The Anatomy of Story is a little bit for both. This one is definitely more specifically about screenwriting. There's a lot about storytelling that we can learn from film. So those are the 3 books about storytelling and structure. Definitely more of a focus on storytelling than structure, but mostly I want to learn about getting those 2 to work together and how you can adjust and manipulate the relationship between storytelling and structure. So my main assignment for that I am like at least at this point considering doing, I'd like to do an analysis of the interconnectedness of storytelling and structure. There are also a few like videos and essays that I want to watch and read, and I will basically fit those in where I can. Generally, I have made myself a list of here's the reading materials, here are like other materials. This one on Victorian England has a few different videos for me to watch or check out. And then I basically split October and November into 8 weeks and planned out about how much I can read in that time period during each week. So I spent about 3 weeks on how to be Victorian, 2 weeks on Victorian fashion accessories, and then 3 weeks on the invention of murder. And I do that for all the different subjects. October and November are probably more about 9 weeks because months aren't actually 28 days. But I wanted to have a little bit of leeway so that I'm not constantly running out of time. So that is a peek at my personal curriculum specifically designed for an author and what I as an author need to research for my book. I think if I keep doing this, I will probably incorporate more things that are for fun. Like I would love to do a course on like stamp making or something like that, something that isn't specifically for book research. I just have so much that I need to research for my books that I can't not do it right now. We'll see if I can fit in more next time. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. My name is Dana, and I publish unapologetically honest stories about real characters under the name D.L. Pitchford, and I will be doing horror-themed videos for the entire month of October, and frankly, maybe into November since I'm behind now. So stay tuned!